Testing 1 2.
Testing 1 2.
1 2 testing. Testing 2 2 1 2. Justin.
No, you can't hear me.
Let me see her. Let me see her. Let me see her. All right, speak now.
Can you hear me now? Yes, you can hear me now.
Yeah? We good? We good?
Yeah, we good.
All right.
Let's go.
So, where's my
Testing
camera?
1 2 3.
Your camera's to you right
So
now.
there's my camera.
Yeah, there's your camera there.
All right, so I can't leave no detail at all, Justin. They go.
That's Marsha there?
So, no, my question is, when I talking, I'm making a point. Right. I can't lean and talk to Justin.
No, you want to look at
I
camera.
actually want Sammy. Huh? Testing 1 2 1 2 testing testing. 2,
Yeah,
2,
Neil,
1,
your
2.
your camera your mic going.
1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10.
Yeah, y'all want to hear me? I think I can hear me quite clearly. Yeah. You can hear me now, Sammy? Awesome.
Y'all can hear me now?
Testing 1 2 3 4.
Yeah.
Get people to fill that table there.
So,
After I introduce y'all, do y'all want to say anything or go straight
we
to
gotta
here?
talk together apparently.
Pardon?
We gotta talk together.
Yeah, let me talk together.
Testing 1 2 3 4. This has been an exciting evening. We're getting ready for the show.
Yeah, Marsha, keep
Blah
going.
blah blah. 1
Are you hearing us? What time is it? Is it after 6?
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8.
Do you want to say something after I introduce you or
I didn't hear that just
No, just go right
I
there.
didn't hear that part just
I was asking if y'all were going to say anything, but Justin says no. Go straight in after the introduction.
Jump right in. So,
You're talking about, oh no, you can do that.
Soy Lakers.
Why you want to see Justin though? You see that whole party show. I want to see. I want to look in the eye.
I know you want me, but not tonight.
I want to look you in the eye.
No entanglements today, sir.
Very well.
Well, I'm not sure if you see this girl walking about the red, but good Lord.
Not thought you.
Yes, it is. This thing will have me so concerned, right?
Come in.
Neil, I'm starting with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Man, put me a side solar. Come in. Man, put me a seat solar.
Yeah. I purposely did that, but I did not know. Thank you, Marsha.
Mute. No, I was asking if the cue is for me to talk or the intro gonna roll.
Testing 1 2 1 2 testing 1 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.
Live show for this just in. Now we told you we were going to do it bigger, better, and bolder. Yes, we told you we were going to do it bigger, better, and bolder. So we're on the road in partnership with Appleton Estate Rum, and we have another action-packed and exciting show for you. I'm Marsha Boyce, and of course with me is Justin Marvel and Neil Hoyt. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're here at Bubba's or in YouTube land. Remember to join the discussion with hashtag TJI on the road. Guys, it's NBA playoff time. We're in the thick of things. let's get right down to business. Neil, some nervous moments for LA Lakers fans so early in the playoffs. How are you feeling about the Lakers right now? Are the Lakers really, real? Can they really go deep into this playoff run?
Well, the truth is, I thought before the bubble, when the season was playing, that they were able to go deep for a playoff run, but now I have concern, right? After game one, I was kind of worried about how the scoring of Contavious Caldwell-Pope and Danny Green, they were ineffective in game one, right? I mean, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, he was 0 of 9, right? Danny Green, I think he only had 3 or so points, right? So they need to play better. Now, granted, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, he played better in game 2. He shot the ball a lot better and he was more aggressive. Danny Green still needs to find his stroke, but I believe that they need to be more focused and play. Frank Vogel made a mistake in game 1 by not playing J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters, or rather he played Dion Waiters like just over a minute, but they need to play more. Even though they're old and long in the tooth and have been proven to be ineffective scorers, they still need to be on the court because they're a threat. Dion Waiters, he can be a point guard and relieve LeBron James, and he can create his own shot. For me, after Dion Waiters, you got J.R. Smith. Sorry. J.R. Smith, now, to me, he needs to be inserted. Now, granted, he's not an efficient or effective scorer. He's been shown that to lose focus. But the truth of the matter is he needs to be in there to create shots and to create pressure, and he can hit those threes. He can kick and he can drive and kick, and he can do some stuff. And he's kind of active on the defensive end as well. For me, Anthony Davis, he was ineffective. Well, not ineffective, sorry. He had an ineffective.
Anthony Davis was actually going to be my next question. Should we really be concerned about Anthony Davis?
So, Anthony Davis had 28 and 10, right? His 28 points in game 1.
And then 31 in game 2.
Right. But the 28 points he had in game 1, to me, they weren't efficient. It wasn't efficient 28 points because he did that on 33 or so percent. He took a lot of long jumpers, a lot of threes, a lot of fadeaways. He did not go to the ring. He was not in the key or anything like that, and he kind of settled for what the defense was doing for him. He wasn't aggressive. In game 2, he came up with a different temperament. I don't know if LeBron got in his ear, but he was a lot more aggressive. He was more active around the ring, and he shot, I think, over 62%. So, to me, he needs to be more aggressive. The defense is there. He can play. It's not like he's a person that cannot get to the ring and get his points or even get to the free throw. But he needs to be more aggressive. No, Kyle Kuzma is who he is, right? Justin, that's Justin's guy. Kyle Kuzma.
But now that you say Justin, let me bring Justin in here because Neil is a Lakers fan.
Of course.
He's going to be very, very biased. We know this.
No,
Justin, do Lakers fans have a reason to be worried at this stage?
Extremely worried, and you heard me say this all along, Marsha. The moment that everybody opted out of not going into the bubble was the end of Lakers' title hopes, and I'm seeing it here now. The biggest worry right now is that the Lakers cannot shoot the three ball very well. Everyone was saying that it was just in the bubble or those seeding games, as they call them, Marsha, and they shot 25% in those games, huh? But now you saw it, repetition, it occurred in game 1. And it is just not, I don't want to say in isolation. The biggest culprit has been Danny Green for the entire season. Danny Green most of his shots, I think about 173 of his shots, which is the most that he's taken, have come on wide open threes. And I think there's this worrying stat. On wide open threes, Danny Green is only hitting, I think, about less than 35% of those. And that's troubling for 2 reasons. 1, obviously you're not scoring when you're getting wide open shots, and 2, no, you're not expanding defense. And I mean that your 2 best players, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, while with the ability to score outside, you know that they want to go inside to score. I think LeBron James is a career 34% three-point shooter. Anthony Davis is at his best right now at 33% from behind the arc. So obviously they want to score inside. So not only is Danny Green not shooting, well, he is not threatening defenses to go out on the arc and expand. So now defenses can collapse and make that key cloggy. Yep. Everybody, I think, was only shooting 36%, but as Neil knows, I'm a plus-minus guy. The Lakers
always it is plus-minus.
The Lakers, when everybody starts, Lakers are a strong plus 13 with any lineup that he is in. Without him, they drop to something like a plus 7 with Contavious Caldwell-Pope. Thankfully, he turned up in game 2. But the biggest concern for me is not even Danny Green, who is a part of the Lakers' woes, because I think he is only shooting 25% along the Lakers team in this bubble. The biggest concern for me is that your best player is in his 17th season, and not just 17th season for LeBron James, but he is a deep 17. I think LeBron James has never lost a first round series in his entire career. And on top of that, this is a guy that's gone to the 2004 Olympics, 2008
the
Olympics, the 2012 Olympics, the 2006 World Championships, the 2007 FIBA America's Cup. This is a guy with a lot of wear and tear on his legs. And you know, typically LeBron James-led teams do well in the playoffs, but that's because he raises his level of play to, I think, about 29 points per game. Right now, you're seeing LeBron James, over his 2 games, has only taken 31 shots in the entirety of 2 games. He scored 20 a little bit in the first game and just 10 in game 2.
But was he,
No,
but,
you can
but did
say
he have to score? Did he have to do a lot of scoring in game 2?
I have a friend, Larry Marshall. We play basketball on Sunday, and one of the
Larry is here tonight.
He is indeed tonight. And one of the people we play is a former first division great, but he's 50 years old now, right? And yes, he can score us when he feels like, but he doesn't do that anymore. And there's a reason why. It's not the fact that he picks and chooses; it's because he has to. And I think LeBron James, in year 17, it has to pick and choose his spots now because he is really tired. Like, LeBron James teams rely on his scoring during the playoffs. And right now, I don't know if he can get that in the early rounds because I do believe he is saving that for the Clippers. And on top of that, now that I mentioned Clippers, obviously now with Damian Lillard's injury, we don't have to worry about getting past the Blazers, and I don't think they have to worry about getting past the Rockets in the second round. It comes now when it comes to a finals matchup with a team that has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 10 players, Neil, 10 players that shoot at least 35% from behind the arc or better. That means that you're going to have to be hitting shots, and LeBron, you're going to have to get an aggressive minded LeBron James. I am not that LeBron James can do that in the first 2 rounds and then do that in the Western Conference Finals.
But you know, just to add real quick, I think his leadership is going to come into play, right? As you say, LeBron picks and chooses when to turn it up and play. But really and truly, I think his leadership now to get his players to focus, because we talk about this all the time. There are a lot of, I don't want to call them madmen, but we have a lot of inconsistent players on this team, right?
Yeah, you never know who's going to turn up.
True. We have a lot of guys that lack focus. We have Contavious Caldwell-Pope. We see Danny Green. We got Dion Waiters. We got J.R. Smith. Kyle Kuzma. We have a lot of players that are key to this organization and their success that are not focused on lose focus, whether on the offensive end or defensive end, and can disappear. Now, LeBron James, as a leader, he has to get them to perform at their best because they're going to be needed more so than, I would say, any other championship that he has ever gone on.
And
he's going to need them for sure.
And I think leading them, Neil, is by scoring this time and not assisting. As I said, we're accustomed to seeing LeBron James up his scoring average in the playoffs. As I said, his scoring average regular season is career-wise is about 27, and then the playoffs is about 29. Right now, he has to take that 29 points per game that we're accustomed to seeing in the playoffs, because as you just mentioned, his other scoring options from Danny Green, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, these have all been inconsistent options. And then we saw in game 1, if Anthony Davis does not come up with an aggressive mindset, then you're going to fall in a quick hole. So the LeBron James that is the pass first guy that's averaging 10 assists per game in the regular season, that is not going to get you into finals, Neil. I don't think so. And the reality is, I don't think it can come. You've seen that in the regular season where LeBron James, this is LeBron James' lowest scoring season since his rookie, I think his rookie campaign was 20.9, and his second highest is, second lowest is 25.3, which is what we're seeing right now. There is a reason that we are seeing this, and it's because LeBron James is in year 17 and picking his spots. But for this Lakers team as constructed, it is not the Miami Heat of old that had Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh. This is not the Cleveland Cavaliers that had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. You are going to need the 29 points, 30 points per game that is LeBron James in the playoffs.
So I'm going to put you guys on the spot now. Yes or no? Will the LA Lakers be in the Western Conference Finals?
You asking me that?
Yes or no?
I'm going to drink for this one.
Yes. Neil. Justin?
Yes, Marsha, but just barely. They're going to fight through
No,
Houston.
they're not barely. Either in or out.
Yes or no?
Yes, they will make the Western
Right.
Conference Finals, and they will get no further.
So guys, you heard it here. Both Justin and Neil believe that the LA Lakers will indeed be in that Western Conference final. We'll take a break right here, but when we come back, we'll further put the microscope on that Western Conference.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Johnny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't nobody here just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.
And welcome back to This Just In, the live show in partnership with the newly rebranded Appleton Estate Ram on location at Bubba's Sports Bar in Barbados. Now guys, as we mentioned before we went to the break, we're going to focus on that Western Conference. So Justin, you have said the Lakers will indeed be in the Western Conference Finals. Who will they meet?
Los Angeles Clippers. Initially, after watching Game 2, I had some worries, but as I keep telling Neil, the reason why I don't want to pick the Toronto Raptors is the reason why I have to pick the Clippers, because that they have that MVP level candidate that is going to turn up when needed most. And we saw that last night in Game 3 against Dallas Mavericks when things were on the lane. Kawhi Leonard simply could not be stopped. My friends laugh at me because they say that you know where the Kawhi Leonard is going. He's going to that strong right hand. But Max Kleber has no answer for that. Like, Max Kleber cannot stop him from going right, so it would seem. And then if he goes left, he's going for that fadeaway or post-up move. But it seems unstoppable. I'm not a Paul George fan. He falls in love, too much in love with that jumper. But as I mentioned earlier in that first segment,
But that jumper falling though, when it's falling,
when it's falling, it's falling. And there are 10 players that are shooting 35% or more from behind that arc. That is going to be hard to guard, even when they go to the bench. And what I like about them most, even if that shot is not falling, they can always rely on their defense. They have all-world defenders. I mean, we're going to start with Kawhi Leonard, who is a defensive player of the year already. Paul George is a first-team All-NBA defender. Patrick Beverley, also a former first-team All-NBA defender. Marcus Morris is going to mix it up in the paint. So too Montrezl Harrell, Zubac at starting center. They are too deep scoring. They are great defensively. I don't see right now with the Denver Nuggets looking like a shell of themselves against Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz missing a true MVP candidate. Dallas Mavericks are just a couple years away from winning a title or contending for one. I honestly see the Clippers get into that Western Conference Finals and then get into NBA Finals.
So Neil, now, take off your Lakers hat, take off your Lakers jersey. You're
Please.
now an analyst. Are the Clippers the real deal? Are you convinced with how they're looking?
Yes, simply because they have Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard has proven that once you add him to any squad, he will win. He will win championships. I mean, he went to Toronto for 1 year, won a championship. He is all-world defensively, and he is all-world offensively. When the game 3, it seemed like he just went into a zone, whether it be a three-pointer, whether it be a drive. Justin always says that he's going right why these defenders don't shut it off right. But the truth of the matter is, he has enough offense that even if he goes left for 1 or 2 dribbles, he can still either come back right or he can finish with his left, depending on what the defense gives him. So to me, offensively, defensively, he is great. As Justin said, they're constructed because they got Magic City Lou coming off.
Wings and thighs.
Wings
and thighs. But he's coming off the bench and he's, on any given night, he can give you 20, 25. You mentioned Paul George. I love Paul George, not like Justin Marvel, because at the end of the day, Paul George has shown that he can play defense and he can play the offense very well. It's just that he's not to that level of Kawhi Leonard. He's not a superstar. But he is proven that as a second banana, I would take 27 points a game and at least 2 steals. So, and then you have Montrezl Harrell. Although my thing with the Clippers is that they're a bit undersized, I actually think they match up with the Houston Rockets very well. In terms of they're going with D'Antonio's philosophy of small ball and pace. I think that the Clippers match up well with them. So the Clippers can play small ball, they can play tall ball, they can play clogging up the key, they can play perimeter D. I just love the Clippers. almost as much as I love the Los Angeles Lakers.
Almost.
Almost.
So putting you on the spot, you're not a Lakers fan now. You're an analyst. Lakers versus Clippers, Western Conference Final.
I
Who wins?
don't like this question.
Who wins?
Next question. I don't like
we
it.
don't run on this show,
I have to
Neil.
say
We
Lakers.
don't run.
I have to say Lakers. I have to
Is
say
this your
Lakers.
fan bias or your analyst point
From a
of view?
logical standpoint, I would even come from a standpoint that even though the Los Angeles Clippers have the defense and can clog up the key, we still have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. At the end of the day, on any given night, the players that I talked about before, Tavius Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green, Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, yes, sometimes they can be ineffective and disappear, but at their best, sky is the limit. So to me, you still have Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee who plays their role now. Obviously, Dwight Howard sometimes gets into too much foul trouble, but really and truly, I think down low is where we can win that battle against the Los Angeles Clippers. It's going to probably go 6 or 7 into that series, but I think that is something that they can overcome. LeBron James is still LeBron James, as much as Kawhi Leonard is still Kawhi Leonard.
Justin, Lakers Clippers final.
I'm going to give you not only the prediction, Marsha, I'm going to give you the score.
Okay.
4-2 to the Clippers. If you had a...
Wait, stop. 4-2 to the Clippers.
Excuse me, have you been drinking something, right?
I have been because Appleton Estate is awesome rum, but that has nothing to do with my prediction. As I said before, there are too many scoring options on the Clippers. My biggest concern is when LeBron James goes to the bench. Yes, you have an all-world player in Anthony Davis, but he has not been playing like it. In that, the Lakers look atrocious when LeBron James is on the floor, and you would figure with a top 5 player like Anthony Davis that the offense would still be like a floor.
Is that on or off the floor?
When LeBron James is off the floor,
Okay.
you would figure that the Lakers would still be able to stay afloat because you have a top 5 player in Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't know what because he's a big player, as in a player that plays inside the paint, he does not have the same effect on the offense as LeBron James. And when he goes off the court, he cannot play well with reserves. Your offense goes in the tank. And the Clippers, like almost 2 of their, 5 best players are coming off the bench in Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell. Then you have Landry Shamet. You have JaMychal Green. You just have too much scoring coming. Their offense never takes a dip. And then they have players who can match up with LeBron James. You have Kawhi Leonard, you have Paul George. Who is going to mark Kawhi Leonard for the entire game? LeBron James can do that for the stretch of games, but when LeBron James is off the court or he is too tired to do that in the entire game, there is no one. Danny Green is not that guy. Avery Bradley is no longer there.
J.R. Smith?
No.
No, he's not. I just throwing out a name.
You're obviously throwing out
I'm
names.
just throwing out names.
And that's the problem with Frank Vogel. You have names, but none of them are good.
Yeah.
And they're not consistent offensively, and they cannot mark their 2 best players in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on a lengthy basis or a whole game. You can't ask LeBron James in year 17 to match up with Kawhi Leonard for an entire game. Everything tilts towards the Clippers in 6. I like the fact that they can score in the paint with Anthony Davis, but if you don't have to worry about Danny Green, who's missing a ton of shots, we don't have to worry about Tavius Caldwell-Pope. J.R. Smith has been out of basketball for almost 2 years. Dion Waiters, almost the same thing. We don't have to worry about those guys on the outside. You can clog up the paint, make life difficult for LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I just don't see in an even world, if I'm being honest, I don't see how the Lakers beat the Clippers in a 7-game series.
Now, if we take the Lakers and the Clippers out of the equation, let's say the Portland Trail Blazers, not this season, but in seasons to come, are the Portland Trail Blazers potential title contenders in the West?
I wanted to say so after game 1, and then obviously, as you said, you're mentioning it's not this game, this series, because Damian Lillard went and hurt his index finger on his non-shooting hand. The reality is, I think Portland has unfortunately reached their ceiling with the cast that they have. And also, unfortunately, we know Portland is not a free agent destination. This is not Dallas. This is not Miami. This is not places where free agents typically go.
It's not a big market.
It's not a big market. And in today's NBA, this is not like the NFL where you build through the draft and win. In today's NBA, you win through free agency. We saw that with Miami luring LeBron. You saw that with Golden State luring Kevin Durant. You win today's NBA via free agency. And Damian Lillard, well, all world. I think that Damian Lillard, not just in the bubble, Neil, I think from the start of January, to me, has been the best player in the NBA. But being a small guard comes with its disadvantages. And I don't think a team being led by a small guard that's not named Steph Curry can win in today's NBA. It's just not when you have to deal with the Kawhi Leonards and the LeBron James of the world. I like Portland, but not as a title contender. If you stay tuned and listen to our Appleton hot takes, you will see who in 2 years I have time to win, but it's not the Portland Trail Blazers.
Now, Neil, I know you are kind of sweet on Damian Lillard. I would admit I am too. Injury aside, how much of an impact do you think he'll have on this team in seasons to come?
Well, I mean, as Justin said, Damian Lillard, he has been the best player, especially in the bubble. So, and he has shown that he can hit big shots. He can hit. People are even thinking about changing his nickname from Dame Time to Logo Dame. So, I mean, he can shoot the ball from one step past half court. He is that good. He is an offensive nightmare for whoever, or sorry, a defensive nightmare for whoever is guarding him. My problem with the Blazers is their injury-riddled team that they have. Every year it seems that whether it be him, whether it be CJ McCollum, Nurkic last year, they always seem to be hurt coming on to the second half or the latter part of the season going into the playoffs. That is a problem for me. And then on top of that, too, their bench is not necessarily that deep and talented to help them get past, get over the hump to get in the second and Western Conference Finals to contend for a championship. So to me, I think they need to, I don't know if they need to work on their conditioning. I don't know if they have to trade for players that could be more durable. They also have to kind of trade for players and lure players there that can impact their bench and be kind of role players for what they want, especially on the perimeter D, because CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, they're not the best perimeter defenders out there. So.
Okay, guys, stick up in there. Now, if you're enjoying the show so far, remember we're currently live on YouTube. So you can give us a like, a comment, join the discussion with the hashtag TJI on the road. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We'll take a quick break right here and be back with all of the drama in the Eastern Conference.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Johnny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. God's with the king over here, yes, you say. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
And welcome back to This Just In on the Road in partnership with Appleton Estate Rum, live on location at Bubba's Sports Bar in Barbados. Woo! Now, guys, a burning question for most NBA fans. Who will be the Eastern Conference finalists? Now, I know I have my own personal bias. There's no secret there.
No, tell the people what's your bias.
Obviously-
Because you tell me about Lakers, or tell the people your bias.
I am a Boston Celtics fan, and I will say no other team but the Boston Celtics. But Justin, give us your picks. Who will make that Eastern Conference final?
Not because you're sitting next to me and you're my good friend Marsha, but I do indeed have the Boston Celtics.
A man with sense. Yes, continue.
And here's my second hot take for the day. The Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. That is
Wait. The Miami Heat?
the Miami Heat out of South Beach
Let me
in
just
Florida.
drift back. I can feel the tension here.
Let me hear this one. We didn't hear this in the production meetings, by the way.
I know, and this is a big surprise. Everyone that knows me knows I am a huge Giannis Antetokounmpo fan. My problem with Milwaukee is twofold. One, that second player who is an all-world player next to Giannis. I love Chris Middleton as a third banana. I just don't think right now that a team can win with Chris Middleton being the second best player, maybe beforehand, but not with how teams are teaming up. Eric Bledsoe, as we know, is a very, very inconsistent performer when the playoffs nights come. But my really biggest concern with the Milwaukee Bucks is the coach, Mike Budenholzer. I love Coach Bud to an extent, but his insistence on protecting the paint at all costs and giving up three-pointers is a worry for me. And it's a worry for me not against the average teams or bad teams, but it's a worry for me when that inevitable second round matchup comes with the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are, for me, not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. Jimmy Butler is a very good player, but I don't count him as a superstar. What Miami Heat have on the Milwaukee Bucks, is that three-point shooting that they readily give up. They have, and they can count all the way, one of the best three-point shooters in the league right now, Duncan Robinson. They have Kendrick Nunn off the bench. You have the left-hander Goran Dragic. You still have Jay Crowder. That is a lot of three-point shooting to come that you are not accounted for. And if you're so concerned about paint, a team that really doesn't score from it, and Bam Adebayo is so adept at finding these three-point shooters when he is at the pinch post. And by the pinch post, I mean the elbow. So he is in a position where it's hard to double team him, and he can see the entire floor and hit those open three-point shooters. I'm also missing Tyler Hero off the bench. These are all capable to be very good three-point shooters. And I think it is a very, very bad philosophy to be giving up three-point shooting to a Miami Heat team. I think that they're going to make Milwaukee pay like how Toronto did. We saw Fred VanVleet last season torch Milwaukee for that philosophy, and I think that Miami Heat will do the same. They won the season series, I think 3-1. They only lost that game in the bubble, and I don't think two of their best players played in that regular season game in the bubble, and they were already up 23 before Milwaukee had to come back. Milwaukee had to come back. So I expect Miami to beat them in that second round and match up with the Boston Celtics. And that's another hot take, because I am not, and I'm going to say this on live TV, I am not a believer. Put that camera on me. I am not a believer in the Toronto Raptors. Yes, I have said it.
Speaker, cut his mic.
Now we're going to get to the Toronto Raptors in a second, and he's jumped ahead because he's gone on to the Milwaukee Bucks. But Neil, he says Celtics, Heat, Eastern Conference Finals. Your picks for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, Marsh, I got to apologize because I don't see the Boston Celtics making it simply because they have to go through the Toronto Raptors.
That I don't believe in.
That Justin doesn't believe in, like ghosts and fairies, right? And Santa Claus. But the truth of the matter is, Toronto, to me, even though they've lost Kawhi Leonard from last season, they have shown that they have that pedigree and the experience that they would have learned from going to the finals last year and winning. They have great defense. Fred VanVleet is playing out of this world. OG Anunoby is playing very well. You have Norman Powell playing extremely well.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about
Siakam yet.
I haven't thought about Kyle Lowry yet. We got the veterans, in Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. They are playing extremely well basketball right now, and they are playing as if all of them have bought into understanding. Look, Kawhi Leonard has led us to the promised land, but we can get there without him, especially coming out of the East. Now, going over to Milwaukee, I do think that they will have some challenges with Miami, but the truth is that they still have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, Giannis has shown that he gets into foolish foul trouble late in games, but I do not know who that player is on the Miami Heat that can cause that problem for him to get those foolish fouls. They have to show me that they can keep him out of the paint.
Yeah.
They have Derrick Jones Jr., who is very active. They have Bam Adebayo, as he said, but the truth of the matter is they have Chris Middleton. The only reason I would kind of listen to Justin's argument is because Milwaukee is the second oldest team in the NBA. They have more than half of their team are at least 33 years or older. Right? And they're key players in key positions. Now, obviously, when you're playing younger players, Miami is one of the youngest teams in the league. You got Toronto is still like 25 years old. You have Boston Celtics, who are very young. It is going to be very hard for them to get out of the East simply because they are so old. And they don't have that consistent perimeter shooting that can outpace the Toronto Raptors and the Miami Heat. So for me, I see Milwaukee and Toronto going there, with Toronto going on to the finals.
Now, you mentioned Giannis, so I'm going to focus on him for a bit. Do you think that he will actually stay in Milwaukee?
So I'm glad you asked that, Marcia. We had a hot take earlier where we spoke about that. I do think that he can stay, but he would have to see the buy-in from management, the front office. They have to get players. First, they have to get the team younger, and they have to get dynamic scoring inside and out. Now, we know that Giannis does not have that perimeter shot yet. They have to kind of fill up their roster with 3-and-D guys that are young, have energy, and spar off the bench instead of some of these older veterans that they have. Yes, you need some players to mentor DiVincenzo and You have Eric Bledsoe, who's a veteran as well at 30.
And Pat Connaughton.
And Pat Connaughton. But at the end of the day, still, I think he needs to see from the front office that they're planning to get younger and more viable to contend with the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors and the Miami Heat and all these teams that are coming up, right? So I actually think that if the management does not do what they're supposed to do in keeping him by building a team around him that can run with him, I actually think that he can leave. He would leave, and we spoke earlier about the Golden State Warriors using that number 2 pick in this year's draft to kind of lure him there. Justin believes.
Justin believes a lot of things, huh?
Yeah, but he was saying that he would go and run with the Dallas Mavericks because that's team you were in, apparently, team international. So you would go and run with Luka Doncic and Porzingis, right?
And Maxi Kleber.
And Boban.
Oh yes, and Boban.
Right? So the fact remains is that Giannis will leave if he sees no real activity, or if front office fails to get a younger squad and a more dynamic squad on both sides of the court to come and help him get out of the East.
Now, first you want to respond to Neil?
Of course. I agree that, unfortunately for the purposes of this show, I agree with Neil. I think Giannis is leaving, and he has shot down my Dallas pick, but I don't want him to. First, we've seen Giannis does not work out with a lot of superstars because, that's his personality. I do think, though, he is going to look at Dallas. He is going to understand the tradition that they have. They've won a title in 2011. They are a team that builds through international players. You have a Slovenian in Luka Doncic. You have somebody from Latvia in Kristaps Porzingis. Someone from Germany in Maxi Kleber. And now you are going to have the Greek freak in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that he's going to go there for 2 main reasons. One, as I told Neil before, you either win in today's NBA via free agency. Milwaukee is not a free agent destination because of cold and the taxes, one. And 2, you're not going to win when your best players after that are Chris Middleton. And this is not me hating on Chris Middleton, but your next best players are Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Eric Bledsoe. I don't think that is good enough to win. So when the Miami Heat do beat them in the second round, I do think that Giannis will tell himself that this is not some place he can win. And unlike Neil, I won't blame management because there's only so much that management can do. You're going to either have to win. You either have to win via free agency or build through the draft. Milwaukee is too good to get good high draft picks, and they're just not a free agent destination. So that's just unfortunate. They're not, and even if they get a high draft pick, that player is not going to be ready immediately to help this team win. He's not going to be on Giannis's and Middleton's and Eric Bledsoe's timeline. So it's just unfortunate. I agree with Neil that Golden State will try to use that second round pick, that number 2 overall pick, to try to trade for Giannis when he turns down that Supermax deal this offseason. But I don't think that Giannis like Kevin Durant, wants to be seen as a player that won only because he paired up with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. He's going to want kind of his own legacy, and I think he is going to go with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis to form the new San Antonio Spurs of the league, where, as I said, that they went and mined the Team UN, as they call it.
So we'll take a break right here and come back with more analysis from the Eastern Conference in our final segment of This Just In.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. The God with the kingdom out of your goodness. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
Come and give me a hug.
We had budget for 15 minutes.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. The God with the kingdom out of your goodness. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
Thank you for staying with us. Our first live show on the road, this just in partnership with Appleton Estate Rum, live on location at Bubba's Sports Bar in Barbados. Now, guys, yes, you can cheer, you can cheer. So when we went to break, we were talking about the Eastern Conference, and another Eastern Conference team I want to talk about, the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, you guys mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks possibly, breaking up. But what about the 76ers? Justin, first you. Will they be split up?
By split up, if you mean they're going to fire Brett Brown, 2 seasons too late, but it will happen finally. I keep telling my friends I don't know what it took to get rid of Brett Brown. I don't even know what to say here. It's just that he needs to go. Part of it, the team does not mesh well. I will get to the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid dynamic initially, but sorry. The first problem is when you brought in Embiid, not Embiid, when you brought in Al Horford, I said, this does not work well. Yes, Al Horford can shoot and stretch the floor to a point, but that is not what he's best doing. As I always say on this show, you want to put players in the best position to succeed. For me, Al Horford, his best position is a small ball 5. You can't put him at that position because there's Joel Embiid already. So you have to play him at 4 against Embiid. But Embiid is not exactly a guy who likes to go in the low post all the time. He is a guy that you have the chips have to be down, you have to be motivated to get in that low block. So then sometimes you have Al Horford floating, not knowing where to go, and he's effective with the ball in his hands, not exactly to score, but to initiate your offense. He's an extremely good passer, he's a good on-the-ball screen setter that's going to either either roll or pop. And he can't do that with his team, partly because, again, he doesn't fit well in Embiid, and he does not fit well with Simmons. Mm-hmm. And that's another part of this situation now. Simmons and Embiid, I don't know. For Simmons to be effective, I'm going to give you another hot take. He has to be the best player on the team that he's in because the ball has to be constantly in his hands. Mm-hmm. He cannot shoot. Not only can he not shoot, he is not a willing shooter. So he can't play off the ball. So the ball has to be in his hands all the time. But the problem is he's not the best player on the team. The best player on the team is Joel Embiid by no stretch of the imagination, and it has to go into him. So it means that you have a player that can't shoot and is not willing to shoot, stand either in the corner and not doing anything. You can't cut to the ring because Embiid is taking up that space in the paint. The team is badly constructed as is. Embiid is not a guy who can stay on the floor for long stretches of period. Now we have Simmons missing 2 stretches of time with injuries. Brett Brown is the first to go, and eventually you're going to have to trade either Simmons or Embiid. I don't know who. You're going to get back cents on the dollar on each player. You're not going to get what they're worth, but one is going to be traded eventually. I just don't know who.
Right. Well, I agree with Brett Brown having to move simply because that team, as Justin said, that they should have gotten rid of him about 2 seasons ago, right? Then the second thing is that team, they have tried a lot of experiments in the last few years, right? The process, as they called it.
Yeah, trust the process.
Well, it's time to get rid of the process. That's what we need to do. Because they had T.J. McConnell, they had Jimmy Butler, they had J.J. Redick, they had Markelle Fultz. All of them are gone now. You have Tobias Harris. They got rid of Robert Covington as well. Mm-hmm. All of those players were good for what you were trying to achieve then, but you've gotten rid of all of those, and now you have a lot of fringe players. You have Ben Simmons, who is, as Justin said, not an offensive threat. He's not a willing shooter. I actually don't like Ben Simmons on this team, and if I were to trade them, I would get rid of Ben Simmons and keep Joel Embiid. To me, anything that ain't Joel Embiid and Allen Iverson, I would get rid of. simply put. Because, and Dr. J, because at the end of the day still, the team is poorly constructed, and they cannot even get out of the first round. Even if Ben Simmons was there, even if they were at 100%, they could not get past, who they play now? Boston Celtics. They can't get past Boston. Keep cool. Even if they were at full strength, they could not get past Boston because Boston, you're seeing it in both conferences. Young players, dynamic scores, right? Scrappy defense. May not be great perimeter D, but scrappy defense. A lot of heart and hustle. I am not getting that from Philadelphia. Philadelphia has, yes, Joel Embiid will come up with that heart, and Ben Simmons will hit a dunk and scream. Yeah. But other than that, Tobias Harris, I am not afraid of Tobias Harris if I was lacing up against him. So, to me, it's time to get rid of the process.
All right. Now, guys, a lot of attention has been placed on some of the young players who actually made it into the bubble, but they didn't make it into the playoffs. So I'm going to get your take on them, starting with Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant.
Oh, Ja Morant is a stud. Ja Morant, he's going to be Rookie of the Year. He is. I know some of the fans out there can tell me because I was saying Zion Williamson was going to be.
I'm going to get to him.
We can get to Zion, but the truth of the matter is, Ja Morant has been healthy all season, and he is most of the season, and he has played well for the whole season. Right? He's a dynamic scorer. He is athletic. He has a huge, as I like to say, a huge engine. The truth, here, just get real quick. But the truth of the matter is, Ja Morant is a player that, for his first season, he has a lot of potential. He can improve his. He's already a decent perimeter defender. He still makes mistakes, and he is undersized. Justin doesn't like undersized guards, but the fact remains is that he can improve on his defense, and he can improve on his offense, which is crazy because his offense is already all world.
Yeah.
He's already one of the top players in the NBA, and he's a rookie.
Now, Justin, listening to Ja Morant in his press conference after they exited the bubble, he said, the thing he will remember most about his rookie season is how close he came to making the playoffs and not making it. Is that the kind of passion you want to see from a young player?
I love Ja Morant's passion and also his moxie, not to play on the road. Yeah, that's an inside joke.
That's an inside joke.
But yeah, I love him. You see him, he has no fear. And I think just missing out is going to even propel him to greater heights. I expect Ja Morant at some stage to be not an MVP, but an MVP candidate. I think he's that good. A great scorer. He's only going to improve from here because, as I said, this is only his rookie season, early 20s. He's going to get better at shooting three. He's already a very good playmaker. We've seen players in top 10 players in this league who are not great at making other players better. He's already that guy because none of us at the start of the season had Memphis contending for a playoff spot, far less entering the bubble at number 8. I would go as far as to say that we would be seeing them in the playoffs right now had Jaren Jackson not gone down with an injury. So with him and Jaren Jackson, that is I'm not going to say Kobe and Shaq or Penny and Shaq, but that is going to be a good 1-2 combo for years to come. Jaren Jackson, a guy athletic and can space the floor. I like Ja Morant. I love the fact that he is fearless. He is willing to talk and show up. You've seen LeBron James. You've seen James Harden. You've seen Damian Lillard all give him the respect they deserve. And when you see these great players give respect to young players, like they do with the Nets or one of the Nets young players that Marshall's inevitably going to ask me about, then you know that they're destined for greatness, and Ja Morant is only destined for greatness going forward, barring injury.
Now, Justin, I'm going to go to your favorite guy, the guy you believe that the NBA has entirely conspired around, Zion Williamson of the Pelicans. Your thoughts on him?
I wish I had thought about this before because one of our Appleton hot takes should have been on Zion Williamson, Neil. You did not see this coming. I believe that Zion Williamson is the modern day Greg Oden. We are not going to see much of Zion Williamson going forward.
Okay.
I don't want to say this because it's not that I don't like Zion. I love Zion, the kid. He is a fantastic human being. If you see him, he is very humble, very willing to talk to media, very willing to talk to kids. The problem is his weight, his size, and his injury history. He has been injured in high school. He has been injured in college. He has been injured in the pros. I like to go by history, and the history has shown that he has not been able to play a full season at any level of basketball. So there's nothing to tell me that he is going to remain healthy going forward. He is too big, Neil, for his short, because he's not 6'10" and rangy. He is a very short 6'7". With 280 pounds, his frame cannot sustain that weight with the amount of force that he puts on the ground when he gets off the ground, and then when he lands from coming down from so high, his weight, his frame cannot sustain that mass. Neil, he is a bust waiting to happen. I hate to throw about the word, but I suspect that Zion Williamson is going to be our next Greg Oden going forward.
Neil, your take?
Yeah, so I love Zion Williamson. I actually thought that all things being equal, if he was healthy, that he would have won Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's a dynamic person inside the key around the paint. He has a lot of energy, hustle, has no problem getting on the ball and scrapping, but as Justin said, he's just too heavy. At the end of the day, at 6'7", and 280 pounds, you're going to lose at least 45 pounds to even get into your weight category to be effective. Now, granted, at that weight and that size, he's amazing
for what he can do.
For what he can do, right? He is athletically amazing. right? But the problem is that it's too much stress on his lower body, his knees, ankles, that kind of thing. And I don't know, I don't want to think that way about him being a bust and the next Greg Oden and everything. That I would love him to at least stay healthy and have a home in the NBA. I mean, granted, he may not have those high flying dunks and he may not get away and do those windmills as he would like, but at least if he can somehow get his weight down, get to a playable weight, a manageable weight on his joints, and he can play, have a career of at least 10 years or so, he's going to be an effective player. He's going to be a player that I can see being a key cog in a team making deep playoff runs because he's just too dynamic around the ring.
Now, another player I want to touch on, he wouldn't be considered a rookie of sorts, but he's by no means a veteran. Devin Booker. Now, when we had the Phoenix Suns general manager, James Jones, on this show, this just in, he essentially let us know that they plan to invest heavily in Devin Booker and building a team around him. So, guys, is Devin Booker turning that proverbial corner? Is he going to be playoff ready? Is he the man to take the Phoenix Suns to the next level?
Don't bring Neil into this conversation. He has no right. I have heard him bad talk my Phoenix Suns all season long, so do not ask him this question.
It's not going to be any different.
Devin Booker is destined for stardom. I don't think destined. I think he's already a star right now.
Phoenix fan and all of Barbados disagree with you.
Devin Booker is destined, or if he's not already a star, we've seen it in this bubble where the only unbeaten team in the entire bubble in the seeding games were the Phoenix Suns at 8-0.
Who's this Phoenix? Oh,
yeah, we have a Phoenix Suns supporter.
Who let him in here? I forgot he was in here.
So there are two Phoenix Suns fans in Barbados.
In the Western Caribbean. In the Eastern Caribbean.
It doesn't matter.
In the Eastern Caribbean.
We are here for you, Devin Booker. Devin Booker is the next best thing. I expect him fully to become.
The next best thing.
I expect Devin Booker to become a top 10 player by next season. By next season, the deficiencies that Devin Booker had before as a person who was not a very good playmaker, we saw that in the bubble, and he has gotten better this season. His footwork is tremendous, where he has making decisive moves on initial catch and his first step. Devin Booker is only going to get better and better. We saw him average about over 30 points in the bubble and lead Phoenix in 8-0 record. Now that we have Ricky Rubio, a true playmaker, he does not have to worry about that. We have a good big, a young big in DeAndre Ayton. When we sign back Kelly Oubre Jr. next season to whatever, just under a max season, I think the Phoenix Suns will be no less than, you heard, than 6, 7, or 8 in the West. Devin Booker is the next star. You heard it first on this, just in right here. Devin Booker is the next star in the NBA.
Neil, clearly you don't agree.
I just want to know if you finished. You finished?
I am finished, and so is Devin Booker with you.
You and your cousin that you brought, you all finished? Because at the end of the day, right? Devin Booker is a dynamic scorer. He has 17 in the league. He shows that he can score the ball. He had big moments. And yes, Phoenix are unbeaten in the bubble. But the truth is, to me, I wonder about his focus on basketball right now, simply because he has too much off-court distractions.
Are you going to bring in a certain...
I'm not going to bring it in, but everybody who knows about the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker know what I'm talking about. He has too many off-court distractions to me that makes him kind of not be altogether invested into it.
But can that change, though?
Yeah, for sure, that could change. He can't be that level.
Mention names, Neil. Go ahead and mention
names. No, I'm not
names.
mentioning names. The Devin Booker, he can be that elite scorer, he can be that elite playmaker, and he can flourish in this league. I mean, in the upper echelon of the NBA players. I don't know if it's in Phoenix, simply because that team, you have Kelly Oubre. He's great. Well, he's good. He's decent. But injuries is a problem for me with him. Then you have DeAndre Ayton, who again can be a serviceable big man in this league, but to me, I wonder about his longevity, one, and two, his effectiveness in terms of developing into that true low post.
To be fair, the only time that DeAndre or Ayton really missed, if we're talking about lengthy time, was due to suspension.
Yeah. Right? But to me, Phoenix, I don't know, man. For some reason, Phoenix, they struggle to build contenders. They struggle to get the right pieces to surround players. I'm not knocking the organization. I'm not knocking the player.
I would hate to think that you're knocking the organization after having Phoenix general manager James Jones on his show.
No, James, you're doing a good job, you have a great organization, but I'll come back on the show. But the truth of the matter is that for some reason they're not bringing players in there to help Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton to get to the next step. Great organization. He's a great scorer. I'm very high on Devin Booker in this league and being a scorer, but he has to focus on what's going on in on the court and actually hone his craft. And Phoenix needs to get some players in there, man.
All right. So there you have it. Justin believes that Devin Booker will indeed be the next best thing in the NBA.
The next best thing.
Neil sorely disagrees. And of course, we'll be sure to have Phoenix Suns general manager James Jones back on our show for a second time to give us, that post-playoff review. But that's it for us here for this first live road show. Yes, guys, here at Bubba Sports Bar. The hour went very quickly. In partnership with Appleton Estate Rum. Remember, we told you in season 2 we were going to do it bigger, better, and bolder. So be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube for those watching. Thank you so much for joining us, those here on location at Bubba's, and everyone in YouTube land. I'm Marsha Boyce.
I'm Justin Marvel.
I am the Neil Hoyt.
The Neil Hoyt signing off for this Just In. Bye-bye.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with the single man, you're going to say, I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
We have on a t-shirt,